Welcome back to Robin's Wreaths, an AQ magazine series quilt presented in 5 parts. Today I will show you how I cut my bias strips. Usually you don't need loads of strips or very long strips for any one particular project, so I like to start with a fat quarter. A true bias is cut at a 45-degree angle. I don't always follow that rule so that I can get just a tad bit longer strip from my cuts. If you're cutting across the grain, even at less than a 45-degree angle, you're still making a bias cut that will stretch and warp, and that's what we want for our vines so that they'll follow the curve nice and gently. In the magazine, I have you take that fat quarter and square it to an 18-inch square, and then you make your first diagonal cut right up across the middle here. Now I've already cut this to kind of show you, so you can see I have the ruler here. I'm going to move that out of the way. And this particular ruler is a 24-inch ruler, and then I have an 18-inch ruler sitting on top of it, and I don't know if you can see here, but it has these little rubber stopper discs on the bottom of it, which is nice because when I put it on top of the other ruler, it doesn't want to shift around for me, and then that extends my cutting line. So, like I said, I've already made this first diagonal cut to save a little bit of time. I'm going to take this ruler and put it away. Now, once I've made that first diagonal cut like this, and you've measured so that you know how many inches you're going to get, usually it's approximately 28 along that line, then I'm going to layer these two halves. I'm going to make this edge nice and even as I do it. Pull this toward me, straighten that out, make a nice line like that. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to fold one more time. And once I line up all those layers, this is my bias edge over here, but it just makes, when you do that one more fold like that, it just gives me a shorter distance now to have to cut with a ruler, which I prefer. And then I can go back to a smaller ruler for handling. And I have my bias edge here. So, most of the stems and vines that I make are either a finished 1/4 inch width or a finished 1/2 inch width. And those are the two sizes that you'll find in the wreath. You'll find the 1/2 inch one for the larger wreath, and then you'll find the 1/4 inch one for the smaller vines. And I want to cut my strips double what the final width of that stem or vine would be. So for example, a 1/4 inch finished stem or vine means that I need to cut these strips at 1/2 inch. So when I put my ruler on here, yes, I like to use my cutting mat as my guide. That's what they put all those fun bright yellow lines on there for us. And what I'll do is, you'll see right here it's exact. But those have a little bit of a width to them, and so I'll take my ruler and I'll move it over just a smidge so that I'm just over that line a little bit. And I know it sounds weird, but it fills in the back of that vine very nicely when I'm making the actual bias tape. Make a nice cut. And now I have 2 vines, well, if I had a nice sharp ruler, 2 vines ready to be made into bias tape and applied. These steps are going to be the same for whatever method you use to make your final bias tape, whether you use the step that I'll show you in the next video or you have your own method. You're always going to make these wider because you have to allow for seam allowance and fold under. Next time I will show you a couple of ways to make bias tape before I show you how I make my bias tape. In the meantime, happy quilting. See you soon. Same bat channel.